Hello and welcome to Euphoria. In this video I'd like to show you a recent upgrade to the system I use for planning the layout of my Lego city. I've upgraded my old system to this planning system made entirely out of Lego. Stay with me and I'll show you how this works. My Lego city layout uses a mixture of Lego modular buildings from the Creator Expert modular buildings range, my own designs for buildings, and lots of other layout ideas and features to make a Lego city. It represents just the city centre for a traditional European style city on a modest scale, and I'm including lots of interesting buildings and features into the city. At the moment it's laid out on one IKEA table that's 150 centimetres wide by 75 centimetres deep. That gives my city an initial size of 18 base plates just on this first table. When I was starting my city, I did a bit of city planning on paper. Then I started using pieces of paper to think how to position buildings, and this meant I could move them around more easily to try out different layouts. But then I upgraded that to a system based partly on paper and partly on these little maquettes or small models of the main city buildings and features. They're made out of Lego and built on these little 4x4 plates, and in that space I can fit a small representation of one standard modular building on a 32x32 stud base plate. So in effect they are 1/8 scale models of the Lego buildings and features that make up the city. I try to use the same colours as the modular building that I'm modelling, and I build them roughly in the same shape and proportions as the building they represent. Using this system I can even make models of buildings I haven't got yet, or mocks I haven't made yet, to see what they might look like and how they might fit into the city. I made a scale representation of the tabletop just using a piece of cardboard with the spaces for base plates represented by squares marked on the cardboard. So I can position the maquettes I've made on this piece of card to try various layouts and see how they fit next to each other, the spaces they leave between them, and how the layout might look from different angles. It's much easier to imagine how the city will look in 3 dimensions using this system. There's a video all about how I developed this system on my channel. So now we come on to the upgraded planning system. What I've done now is simply to replace the piece of cardboard with this base for the city layout. It's now also made out of Lego, and it also has space for 18 modular buildings on a 6x3 grid, the same as the cardboard one. I've made it a bit fancier with feet underneath and a fiddle round each side to mark the boundary of the layout. That makes the whole thing 26 studs wide by 14 studs deep. Initially I just wanted to use tiles for the top surface so it was completely flat and smooth, and then I could move the maquettes around easily. But then I added some jumper plates with a stud to lightly hold them in place so they didn't get knocked out of place all the time. This is how I use the planning system. It's easy to consider moving buildings around the city just by moving these little maquettes around, and to look at it from different viewpoints to see what the effect will be. I haven't changed the basic layout of the city for a while, although this was very useful when I was thinking about moving buildings around to make space for the new town hall building, which is the most recent major change to the city layout. But now, when I want to consider a further change, I can do it here first. Let's say I'm thinking of a new building, perhaps to replace the Katie Corner building at the back here. I can relatively easily make a small maquette of the new building out of some spare Lego bricks in roughly the size and shape I'm thinking of. Then I can place it in position in the city to see how it might look from the front or down the street. Is it better facing the front or the side? Is it too tall for the space or too short so it won't be seen? Or I can try positioning it somewhere else by moving buildings around to decide if I like that instead. This is all far easier than moving buildings around, and of course that's all before I've even designed or bought and built a new building. I can also use this system to plan a possible expansion of the city. Now the table I've got here is pretty much full. There's a small gap here in the business district that could take another small modular building, and I could consider a replacement for this facade building on the right hand side of the layout here. But that's pretty much it as far as any further additions on this table are concerned. I do have another table, and if I'm going to develop the city much further, I need to start thinking about how to expand onto that other table. First, I need to think about whether I can even fit 2 tables in this room and still have space to move. I certainly won't have room for any large-scale expansion, such as a seaside, docks, airport, or train layout. So I may be building another one of these planning boards to work out how to redistribute the buildings across the 2 tables to give me some space for expansion and the viewpoints for the city based on how the 2 tables are positioned. Of course, this system only really works for my city that's on a flat table, and it's still grid based, so it only really works with buildings that are modular in style and placed in square rectangular base plates. But if I did want to introduce any level changes, then I could also try those out in miniature first. Also, as I think about changing or expanding the old town area, those medieval style buildings might not be built on such a grid pattern. So there I would either need to fit them onto square or rectangular base plates, or somehow allow buildings to be placed more freely. Quite a lot to think about there, so this might not be the last update you see on planning my Lego city. So that was just a quick update, as I thought you might like to see this little planning system that I'm using to think about changes to the city. I'm not sure about timescales for expanding the city, and that will depend on what I can fit into the room. In the meantime, I can use this little planning system to plan any other changes. It actually makes quite a nice table ornament, and I can look at this and dream about changing the city even when I'm not in the Lego room. I might even take it to my next Lego show, if I do one, so I can explain how my mocks fit into the city layout. So why not subscribe to this channel to see more about the development of my Lego city and the builds that will go into it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you back again very soon. Take care.